to our discussion segment on the weekend show. Um, Tomorrow will be World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And in recent times, there have been stories of trafficking in persons, both locally and internationally. And today, we feel that it is important that we look at this topic.
And today our topic will be reaching every victim of trafficking, leave no one behind. And that's to mark today's celebration of World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, like my colleague said. And our guest this morning is Madam Juliet
Sorry,
Chuku.
Judith.
Chuku. She is the Anambra State Coordinator Commander,
Okay.
Anambra State Commander of NAPTIP, National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. Maya, welcome to the weekend show.
Thank you very much.
So I think I should have put the commander, right? I
just whichever, just long as that commander is there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commander NAPTIP, Anambra State.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So, welcome again, Ma. Let's look at this issue of trafficking.
Okay.
As a stakeholder in this area, how would you describe where we are in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start from the beginning. Like you rightly said, tomorrow the whole world will be marking World Day Against Human Trafficking with the theme, reach out every victim, leave no one behind. It is a yearly event to remember victims of human trafficking particularly, and then to ginger, to energize the fight against human trafficking. In Nigeria, NAPTIP is the only agency mandated to coordinate and to, spearhead the fight against human trafficking. And I can say in Nigeria, the fight has been, I can rate the fight, I can rate what NAPTIP is doing to be high. Even though we have left the tier 1 that we used to be in Nigeria to tier 2. And then and when we go to tier 2, it means that we are going down. But now we are doing everything as an agency to get back to where we used to be, which is tier 1. Which is a very good pass mark for fighting human trafficking.
So when you say tier 1 and tier 2, what does it imply?
Yeah, tier 1 means that we are not Nigeria, because now they are not rating NAPTIP alone. They are rating the country as putting in a lot of effort, as doing everything possibly best, fighting the fight to the maximum. So you look at the sub-nationals, that's the state, the national, everybody. When you take the data of the cases we have handled, how we have fared so far, if you put everything together, it scores us high as a nation. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to look at the country now. Times are hard.
Yes.
It is really biting hard. So people are beginning to promote the Japa syndrome. Initially, during the olden days, during the slave trade, the olden days slave trade, people were more like unwilling victims. But nowadays, people are willing victims. People willingly bring out themselves to be trafficked. So my question is, how does that make the job? Does it make the job tougher for you, knowing that some of these persons that are being trafficked willingly went?
Yes,
it wasn't like they willingly. So how does that make the job?
Yeah, like you said, the issue of Japa is a problem. That's migrating out of the country. The traveling is a right. It's a part of your right, yeah.
Yes.
But what NAPTIP advocates is if you must travel the right way. But with the economic condition we found ourselves in Nigeria at the moment, a lot of people are moving, both legally and illegally. So they don't want to know, they just want to find a better option outside the shores of the country. So we find it that some of these people, they fall victims. They're willingly giving themselves to travel, but they never know what they are going to face there. They are not giving into account the likely exploitations that they might need there. So this issue of Japa syndrome, it has actually increased human trafficking. It has actually increased movement of people from Nigeria. That's external trafficking now. Is on the increase from Nigeria to outside the shores of the country. And if you look at our border states, the states that are bordering, we are making a lot of interceptions, a lot of arrests, a lot of return, a lot of rescue of victims. And over there, we are getting reports of our people that are into these countries too. And most especially when they get into the country without legal document, without legal state, it is easy for traffickers over there to cash in on this and begin to use these victims for exploitative purposes. So it's increasing the human trafficking activity. It's increasing it.
Sorry. I feel like I need to really understand.
Okay.
Can you, for the sake of our viewer, explain when you say trafficking, what exactly is trafficking? Because you did mention people who travel illegally. Is that trafficking too?
No. That's,
okay, so please explain what trafficking
means.
Yes.
Recruiting people. Let me, in a layman's language.
Okay.
When you recruit somebody with deception, with false promises of a better livelihood to where you are taking the person to. It could be within the country, it could be outside of the country. But as long as deception is involved, and when the person gets to her destination, exploitation sets in. That is trafficking. But for JAPA, JAPA without exploitation is smuggling of migrants. That is when somebody leaves Nigeria to another country where that person has no permission or legal documents to stay in that country. That is exploitation. The person may end up being exploited. And when exploitation sets in, it becomes human trafficking. But when the person gets into that country and melts with the society without nobody exploiting him or her, but it doesn't have the legal documents to stay in that country, it's smuggling. Because somebody must have helped him to enter into that country and collected a fee. It could be material or cash. It's exploitation. It doesn't amount to trafficking. But it becomes trafficking when that person that moves in from Nigeria into that country still takes control of the activity of the person there. If the person is making money, you are paying the person back. If you are collecting a fee or engage the person in exploitative labor or exploitative prostitution or something that the person is working purely for you, not for him or herself, it becomes trafficking.
Okay, let's look at this trafficking in persons within the country.
Okay.
How would you describe where we are as a country? And what is NAPTIP doing to ensure that we reduce the possibilities of trafficking persons, trafficking young people and even adults within the country?
Yeah, we focus on Anambra State because this is where I work.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of internal trafficking in Anambra State. People are moving in from other states, neighboring states to Anambra. And people are being moved from Anambra State to another neighboring state. By virtue of the location of Anambra State, this is Onitsha. It's like a melting pot for people traveling. People coming from the north, from the east, from the south. There's some of them going to this western part of the country. A lot of them touches Onitsha first. A lot of them touch Onitsha. So it makes Anambra a transit route for internal trafficking. So there are, even within the states here, people come from different villages in Anambra State to Awka, and people are being moved from Awka to different villages, Ekulobia, Nnewi, Isofia, Agwata, and all that, for one kind of form of exploitation or the other. And in Anambra State, in the recent time, we've witnessed people, girls from Ebonyi State, from Imo State, River State, being brought into Awka, and they are being put in brothels for exploitative prostitution. So that is, I think that's what is trending at the moment. There are a lot of brothels in Anambra State where girls are exploited sexually, underage girls for that matter. So, and then we have also seen children being brought in from other states or within the state to Awka to be engaged in a domestic labor, domestic servitude. We receive cases of children being brutalized. You see marks on their body. You see bodily harms, result cause pouring of hot water, and then all forms of physical abuse on the child. We are witnessing that too in Anambra State. So internal trafficking is on the increase. It's on the increase here. We have seen cases of abduction too. Infants are being kidnapped. And we use the word is abduction. They are being stolen from the streets, from their homes too, and they vanish. People sell them to other people to make a whole lot of money. So those cases is what we are seeing in Anambra State too.
So I would like to know what the role of NAPTIP is in such cases, talking about internal and maybe external. Like when NAPTIP, let me say if there's a case of trafficking and NAPTIP comes into it, what role does NAPTIP play?
Yeah, because NAPTIP recognizes that human trafficking is a fight for everybody. That is why we have tried a lot to establish state task forces on human trafficking so that everybody will get involved. Anambra State Task Force was inaugurated last year, 2022, where all stakeholders in Anambra State, as long as you are a human being, you care about what happens to your fellow human being. You care about that people should not be exploited. So people, you are a part of that task force. And then luckily enough, the governor gave assent to the document that established the State Task Force on Human Trafficking. So it's a way of NAPTIP trying to make the masses to get involved in the fight against human trafficking. Like I said earlier on, in that State Task Force, the vigilante group are members of the task force. The traditional rulers are members of the task force. The religious bodies are members of the task force. All the NGOs are members. Some key ministries are members of the task force. And of course, Office of the Governor too is a member of the task force. So it is a way of NAPTIP getting everybody involved to do the fight. While NAPTIP as an agency too has established state commands. Now we are closing in on the 36 states, ensuring that we used to operate at zonal levels before.
Yes.
So because Enugu used to control all the southeastern states, while Lagos controlled the western and all that. But it's not the same now. You see states now having NAPTIP state commands so that we can get to the grassroots, yes, to, to do the fight. So NAPTIP on its part is trying, and in Anambra State too, they command, because we have come to the cases that used to go to Enugu. People no longer used to find it difficult going to report cases to our Enugu command. But Oka is just a stone throw from the surrounding villages. So when cases happen, it's easier to people to come to our office to make the complaint too. And when we go on sensitization too, we talk to people and we give out numbers, our phone numbers too, so people make contact, they make calls, they report cases. Like yesterday, we did a road show, we did a road walk in collaboration with the Anambra State Task Force, that is NAPTIP and the State Task Force. We did a road show yesterday. So from Ekweme Square, we went down to Aroma, to Ekoka. We talked to people, we sensitized them. We share their flyers and then should give out numbers, and such helps us for people to now get informed and then report cases of human trafficking.
My question was, if a case of human trafficking is reported, what exactly are the steps? What do you do with the case or with the people involved? Okay. Like, let me say, for instance, when a case is reported to Women Development Center, they step in, pick the person up, do this. I really want to see the vivid picture, so that people or the person watching us will know, like, if I have a situation like this, if I meet these people, see what they will do.
Oh, good. When a case is reported, definitely, you can make your report through a phone call, through our email, which is very active, or walk in to report the case or write a petition. When it comes, we have an investigation department that takes on the case immediately. You understand? We step in. We try to get contact with the people. Our primary aim is just who is the victim involved. If it's reachable, we try to remove the person first from the place of exploitation, and then we go after the suspect. Or if it's a case of trafficking out of the country too, we begin to get the people involved, because now trafficking is a syndicate. It involves more than one person to do the trafficking. There are chains of people. So when we receive the case, we carry our investigation discreetly. We don't broadcast when we are investigating cases, because sometimes when you make broadcasts that you have made this arrest, made that arrest, you are giving the suspect the tip. So those of them that you have not arrested, we take off. So we discreetly do our investigation. We must get the root of it all. We picked one person, we will not relent. All the people involved in that trafficking deal, we make sure we arrest all of them and then prosecute them. We have legal departments that prosecute cases. And all these cases are done at
NAPTIP also prosecutes?
Yes. We arrest, we prosecute. And then we rehabilitate the victims as well. So all these cases is done at no cost to the person that reported the case. Just bring in the case. You don't pay one kobo for us to move on.
Secret?
Sorry?
I'm talking about the person who
Good,
reported.
yes. We protect our informants. We don't go to say this is the person that brought the case to NAPTIP. No. Everything is done to protect all the people involved, the victims, the informants, and even the suspects, because they have their rights too, until they are pronounced guilty by the court. That is when we can now say this person is really guilty. At the point that we are investigating the case, he's still a suspect. Do you understand that? So everything is done. We don't leave no stone unturned when a case is reported, by removing the victim, counseling the victim, and then try to rehabilitate the victim. So at the end of it, or when it is established that a case was committed, a crime was committed against the victim, we take the victim in, plan rehabilitation program for the victim. Whatever it is that the victim wants to do to make him become a functional member of the society. Do you want to go to school? Do you want to learn a trade? Or whatever do you want to do? Because we know that sometimes it's some poverty that leads people to be trafficked. So we look at the root cause of why you are even trafficked. Is it unstable home? Sometimes we do family counseling. We bring the families together to the office, talk to them, what happened and all this, and we try to settle. In some cases, too, we do ADR, because it's not in all time that it's like some cases that involve families, the one we can resolve without going to court. We settle them and ensure that everything is set, and we follow up to see how they are faring. But the one that we must take to court, we take to court.
Okay, you mentioned specifically about the cases of trafficking young people in brothels, maybe for prostitution and all those. What is NAPTIP doing in Anambra State, especially to ensure that we have lesser cases of these incidents?
Yes. Like I said earlier on, our investigation is discreet. We don't go about broadcasting. But we know we are working in collaboration with key security agencies in the state to close in on brothels. We receive information. We work with the NDLUA, the DSS, the police. So we are synergizing and then to ensure that we eradicate. I can't begin to tell you all the steps we do, but we know that we are working towards making sure that running a brothel and putting underaged in the brothel is reduced.
Sorry, talking about underage, there is a scenario I like to create. It's a very rampant scenario where people go to villages, communities, and they pick up children and they bring them to the town as maybe nannies to help them look after their children. I would like to know, is this trafficking? Or rather, at what point can you say this is trafficking? Because it is rampant now. Everybody needs a helper. And most times we find out that the aged ones are not available. And there are a lot of families in the village who are willing to give you their children and say, if you can train this child for me, Duria, if you can train this child for me, the child can be like a helper to you. So my question now is, as a family who recruits these children, is it trafficking, or at what point does it become trafficking? When you are going to pick house girls or maids or helpers. I think helper is a better term because of child labor. So at what point does it become trafficking? And what advice do you have for people going to, because it is rampant and it is like a lifesaver now. Sometimes some of these children find a good home that they get trained in, and sometimes they don't. So what's your advice to the person who needs such helpers and the person picking up the helper and then the family giving the help? At what point does it become trafficking?
Okay, good. Like we know that an adult age starts counting at age of 18.
Yes.
So what we advise as an agency is, if you want to pick a house help, pick an adult, 18 years, and put the person on salary. Okay. Pick an adult and put the person on salary. So the person is with his full consent, and the money you are paying is going to the person. Okay. But the situation where you go and pick a child under the age of 18 years, and you say you are placing the person on salary, maybe probably the salary is passing through another hand to reach the person. Because I've seen instances, they go to pick a person, there's a go-between. They go between, negotiate salary for the person. So when the person works, you pay to the go-between. And the go-between will say, I am saving the money for the child. At the end of the year, Christmas time, I will give the money to the child. It is pure trafficking. It is exploitation. So we advise, pick the person at above 18 years that can negotiate for himself, that can speak for himself. Even at that, when you pick a person above 18 and you negotiated for the person's salary and the person does not receive the salary directly,
It's trafficking.
it passes through a go-between. It becomes pure trafficking. Okay. The person must receive her salary or his salary to himself. And they're coming to picking a child, you know, to
train the child.
Train the child and all that. Well, we know as Africans, we have this tradition of fostering, yes, bringing in our wards to live with us, you know. Maybe they have a better life from our house, yes, from our homes. If you keep to that deal, if you go to a child's home, maybe they are poor, and you tell the family, okay, let her come with me and see light. Nigerian parlance, see the light. If you take the child in and treat the child well,
it is not trafficking.
Yes, if the child is supposed to be in school, put him in school. If it's a trade, you know, Igba boy, let the child be with you. Show him all that will make him to become a responsible human being, a responsible adult in the future. It's not trafficking. As long as the child is not exploited, as long as the child is not treated badly, as long as the child is treated like your own, it is not trafficking. If the child is supposed to be in school and you put her in school and the child comes home and helps in domestic activities, it is not trafficking. But when a child is supposed to be in school and you deceive the person that you are going to put the child in school, you remove her from the parents and you bring her to Oka and you get the child to be hawking for you in the street or be fetching water and anything while your children are in school and that child is not going to school, it is pure exploitation on the part of the child and it is trafficking.
Okay. Finally, because of time before we go, you mentioned phone numbers to call. Yes. Any person that's watching and want to call NAPTIP to make a report, or you talked about email also. What are the places? Okay,
our email address is info@naptip.gov.ng. info@naptip.gov.ng. And then I will give out our phone number before we close it. Then our office, we are at Udoka Housing Estate, Road 1, House 1, Udoka Housing Estate. Just walk in there and bring in your complaint.
Are you on social media too?
Yes, I think we have. I will give that out before we close on this program.
All right, so maybe during our social media trend, we're going to call it because, all right, so I think this is where the conversation will be ending. We want to thank you so much, the Commander, Judith Chukwu. Thank you so much. Anambra State Commander, NAPTIP, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. You've heard it all. If you see something, say something.
Everybody's a stakeholder. All right, thank you for joining us on this show.
All right, we'll call out the numbers during our social media trends. For now, see you at our breakfast news desk.